8 days ago, the Huskers traveled north to face the Minnesota Golden Gophers in a primetime Friday night matchup. The game shaped up to be a slugfest right out of the gate, and the Big Red were forced to make desperation plays in the first half.
2nd and 6. At the 23, ball splits the hash mark. Snap from under center. Raiola rolls to his right under pressure. Throws lefty to Lindenmeyer in the flat at the 25. Zigzags for a first. Luke Lindenmeyer gets it to the 35. What can't DR do? Raiola out of the gun. Johnson saddle left. Barney in motion right to left with 3 wide. Snap and a play fake. Boots left. Zips it over the middle. Caught by Quinn Clark. There he goes to midfield. Cuts right to the numbers 40, 30, 25. Ridden out of bounds to the 22. Quinn Clark over the middle. Sets up the Huskers just outside the red zone. A gain of 43.
NU scraped together a field goal in each of the first 2 quarters and entered halftime trailing the Gophers 7-6. But Minnesota took firm control of the contest in the second half, marching downfield on long drives and clamping down on Nebraska's offense, on their way to a 24-6 upset of the Huskers.
I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off at the coaches. I'm pissed off at myself. I'm mad. Everything that you guys are going to bring up, you guys are right about. To be quite honest, I'm bringing the same things up. You can't give up 9 sacks. You got to run the football. You got to convert third downs. I think we were 1 for 5 on third down in the first half, right? It's not any one thing. It was just bad football.
It's got outplayed, got outcoached. They beat us everywhere. I worry about offense and what we got to do. Obviously, it wasn't good enough. So just got to challenge them to get better. We've played good offense this year. We know what it needs to look like, and it just didn't look like it. So we got to do better. We got to practice better. We got to prepare better, and we got to go play better.
The Big Red haven't had time to feel sorry for themselves. The Northwestern Wildcats are the visitors to Lincoln today, and they enter with a 4-game winning streak. The Huskers are ready to bounce back in a big way.
I'm making it very clear, I think, right now to our team and to our coaches what's expected this coming Saturday. And if Northwestern is just way better than us, then so be it, right? So be it. So we better show up. Help me say that. We will show up, okay? How about that? We will show up.
We need to go in every week ready for a fight. Once you start winning and come back in the fourth quarter, have great drives, and you're feeling good, and then you kind of lose sight of what you're built on and everything we've worked for, who we are. And it sucks that we had to have a loss to have motivation to get back to that, but that's what it took. So this way we're getting back to who we are.
There comes some times in life, there's moments where you have to stand up, and so this is that week.
Now, here are your hosts, Ben McLaughlin and Damon Benning.
Good morning, Husker Nation. Feels good to be back in the capital city here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Ben McLaughlin, Damon Benning with you. Huskers and Wildcats. Northwestern comes to town on a 4-game winning streak. Huskers will look to get back on the straight and narrow after dropping a frustrating game last Friday against Minnesota. And our pregame coverage is off and rolling here on the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day show. Ben McLaughlin, Damon Benning with you. Hopefully everybody's got their morning caffeine, or if you're just making your way back home after a long evening out, rest up before the game. There are those that exist, Damon, right?
That'd be pretty impressive.
Sure.
No judgment here. we can sleep at some other point. It doesn't have to be tonight.
If that's the case, I'm not sure they're making it through the game today, but hopefully they're reading about a Husker win. We've got a good 2-hour show here coming your way, and we'll get into everything that's gone on this week around this football team and in preparation for Northwestern. I think all of us are probably to an extent surprised at where the Wildcats have landed the last month of their season, considering where they were the first 3 games of the season. But you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Braun for turning that around, at least right now for Northwestern, receiving votes in a poll coming into Lincoln with a 5-2 record. Damon, didn't take long for the apathy to set in this week with the fan base. And I think we were all surprised, at how that thing unfolded with Minnesota. You could have boiled an egg on both of our foreheads driving from the bus to the airport in the Twin Cities.
I appreciated the pep talk text because that was right on time.
Yeah, usually when there's some trembling happening from across the aisle, you're not saying you need a pep talk, but I volunteered.
Yeah, so that's a very good feel on your part.
Yeah. Well,
very good feel on your part.
I wish
just relax, DB.
I wish some of that feel was permeated throughout our section, but that's
man.
neither here nor there. Well, let's talk about, as a fan, the digestion of the week, because it's a weird mix to me, because when I think about this season and the expectation of this season, you kind of handpicked a few games here and there that you would thought could potentially be challenges. I never knew why we were glossing over the road game at Minnesota. Yeah. The prior history would tell us that shouldn't be a great thing to do. But for whatever reason, with the 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, 8-4, wherever you were at, it didn't seem like this was a game a lot of people circled. And I think that's important to bring up, because I think that led to a lot of the frustration and, dare I say, overreaction this week of where this team is and where they're headed, and some of the wild theories that we're hearing of what and how that happened on Friday. What's been your perception of the week after a very frustrating game last Friday?
Yeah, I couldn't really throw stones in glass houses. I think I spent all off season. This was the one game, Ben, that I had always talked about as being the one that I was pretty fearful of. And I explained why. I talked about their personnel. I talked about Drake Lindsay. This was from June through about the second week in August. We started back in school. We're in camp. I'm kind of reading more reports. I had this brilliant proclamation. You know what, guys? Hey, I apologize. I get it. You guys were all making fun of me that it was Fear the Gopher all summer, and this is what they're bringing back, and more details started to come out about the personnel, and I was like, Minnesota, okay, you guys win. You beat me in a submission. I'm not worried about Minnesota. And so I was right on board. I should have stuck to my guns like I did all off season, just because, if nothing else, and you and I talked about this a ton, and now you have to kind of be there, and I think now we know they just don't like Nebraska. And the problem is you can think you're ready for something until you figure out that someone is fueled by something different. So I didn't love the whole, they didn't, I get the fact they didn't show up. This is what I actually think it was. You and I talked about this yesterday, and even preceding the game. You think you're ready for something until you figure out, until you get in it. And I think Nebraska figured out, you know what? I just don't think we can match this vitriol. When they're with those pre-game chants before anybody was really in the stadium, you knew it was going to be dicey. I mean, there were expletives in sync all over that place, and we'd only been there an hour.
Yeah. Well, and mind you, of the road games that Nebraska's experienced to this point, that was really the first pure venom spit out at the Huskers this year.
I didn't, you're talking, I love this booth, and it's so spacious, and they're good to us, and they had you overwhelmed emotionally with the tribute to Sharpie, and I'm like, okay, this is a nice place. Wait a minute. I don't think they like us very much.
Meanwhile, they're putting on their brass knuckles in the locker room.
Right? It's they took it on the chin, that's for sure.
You asked me this question on your show yesterday, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. I'm going to throw it right back at you. You were down on the field before the game, too. Yeah. Was it not a little ominous? Because you had the bright sunshine coming from the end zone, and then you went down on Minnesota side, and it was like their warm-ups was almost like they were getting ready to play in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, when you and they hadn't even had pads on yet, and you paused, and I was just like, in my head, I was like, just go. And you go, well, which way do you want to, how should we get off?
You want to walk right through these guys
and
right
now? Go, let's just go this way. and so we're kind of meandering on through, but you could tell it was all business. And, I said in the pregame to KC, I'm like, Nebraska, they look pretty dialed. And during the broadcast, I had to kind of go back and get it. It's like I mistook dialed for, because some people are different. You know, they don't say much, and they got those steely eyes and they're focused. Sometimes those people just don't have any juice.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard until you've seen it. Some guys warm up and they're loosey-goosey. Some guys warm up and they don't say a word. It just did not feel like we were ready to match the intensity, because Minnesota was a surly bunch. You know, they kind of just rearranged. We got two notes pregame that there may be some offensive line shuffling. And then about an hour before the game, it was like, well, we won't have 2 new starters. We'll just rearrange the 5. So I was curious, like, what happened in those 2 hours? Were the guys like, no, coach, we got you, give us a shot? Like, I didn't know, right? But whatever it was, I listened to Harbaugh when he said, you know, why'd we get an I formation so much? Well, we got an I formation so much because we were the most physical when we ran those I formation plays, and our guys embraced it. So they clearly understood what the task at hand was.
We'll get into more of what we saw on the rewatch in terms of the football side of it, but from a coaching standpoint, Damon, and even go back to your playing days, I mean, I can recall a few times, you know, from a far less competitive standpoint than a Division I football, but, you know, playing high school football, there were games where during a timeout, midway through the first quarter, at the first couple of drives, you're going, whoa, what is going on? Like, these guys are playing like possessed. Surely the thoughts were ringing through our guys' heads at some point during that game, and I feel like one of two things happen. You either lace up your boxing gloves and punch back, or you start playing the victim. And it felt to me like, I don't know that Nebraska ever put their boxing gloves on to fight back.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about that is I would ask the guys, maybe so much as, hey, we don't go back and get the week of practice, because I would imagine they probably felt like they practiced what felt right. Now, in retrospect, you're like, probably wasn't good enough. But the body, muscle memory tells you kind of where you're at. I would ask the guys, hey, were they better than you thought on watching them on film? Because sometimes that happens, where you watch a team and you watch tape and they're completely different than what you saw. So, and that's a thing. It doesn't mean you didn't respect them or you weren't ready to play. You had your eval, you had your material that you looked at, and when you got out there, it was something different than you thought. That's happened more than a time or 12.
And it's frustrating when that's the case.
It's definitely frustrating.
Because let's just, from a running back perspective, right? And this is a bad example because things didn't really manifest in Nebraska's rushing attack, but since that was your position, right, you feel like you should be gouging this team.
Yep.
You feel like this guy should not be bringing me down one-on-one. This guy shouldn't be doing this. We should be able to handle this D-end on a block. Yep. And that starts to mount over the course of a 60-minute game.
Absolutely. It's like, well, I didn't see that on film. Or, wow, he's quicker, or he's a little more sudden than I thought. Or, ooh, that physicality didn't look like that on film. That is 100% a thing. But the key is what you talked about a little earlier, where you said sometimes when you find yourself in those situations, it's how do you respond, right? Everybody comes out with a game plan, and it's what Tyson said, until you get hit in the mouth, right? Well, I saw the jab. I didn't think it was that quick. I didn't feel like the lateral quickness was. This happens in competition when you study guys. It's how quickly can you adjust to being caught off guard, and Nebraska just didn't get it done.
And I think I said this to you yesterday too. Let's kind of fast forward to this week then. From a player standpoint, we'll get into Matt Rule and his approach to this week in a minute. But from a player standpoint, like if you aren't pumped to play today, like this might not be for you.
Yeah.
Like anybody that's played competitive sports, and when you get your teeth kicked in, you are salivating at the chance to go do that to somebody else and to get another chance. So, in my opinion, I think chin straps should be buckled a little tighter today. The spats should be a little more tight on the ankles. Make sure your shoulder pads are ready to go, because you get a chance to go do that to somebody else after what just happened to you. You be the bully today. And I've never understood that, how you can dread a week of practice after a game like that, or you could dread.
How about being on the extra day too?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to sit on it a little while
There
longer.
should be some foam on some mouthpieces today to go hit somebody and, see some of this stuff turn around. Like, that's always bugged me. When you have a game like that, or you lay an egg, or you just get flat out whipped, that the next week there's the mentality of like, and this is more from a fan perspective than as a player perspective, because I bet when all those guys in that locker room pull those jerseys over their shoulder pads today, there better be some angst.
Oh yeah, and I think there will be. I think you have to just understand when you go through something like that and you feel pretty bad or down or disappointed in yourself, you just want another crack at it. And if you don't like feeling like that, then what are you doing in the meantime? So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to saying. We've heard this adage sometimes where you don't want the same opponent to beat you twice. That's true, but you can have what happened to a previous opponent get you better too. So it could go both ways. We'll see which one happens today.
Well, and the other thing, DB, this isn't the first time this has happened in this sport.
No.
I mean, it happens every Sunday in the NFL, happens every Saturday. How long have me and Kyle been talking about this? I mean, really since the final score started rolling in when we were at Arrowhead, right? I mean, there's always games every week. Our opponent played one. Yeah. I mean, that was the tip, the first domino to fall with the James Franklin thing at Penn State was the loss to Northwestern. And I think it happens, but that doesn't mean that your season's over or you just pack up your tents and say, oh, maybe next year will go better. Like, you got to do something about it. So it's been an interesting week, I think, from the psychological standpoint. From the fan, I'm not so worried about the team because those guys are in their prime of competitive spirit.
We saw them bounce back against Ohio State a couple years ago and play tough. They came back after the Indiana game. They have been for the most part here in the coach role, they've been a good bounce back kind of resiliency team.
What about Matt Rule? I mean, he
was different.
We talk about setting the tone. That press conference was one that will be remembered, I think, for a while, regardless of how the results go the rest of the season. I think we'll all kind of look back and think about very matter of fact. And then he kind of put his money where his mouth is on Thursday also. Yeah. The temperament and the mood didn't change. And I would imagine the practices, the team meetings, everything this week that he had, the groups of players around him were probably of similar nature.
Yeah, and you know what I think it is, too, with him? We want all these things fast-forwarded because of how much somebody makes or the position that they're in. We make a lot of assumptions. For Coach Rule, I think this is a little bit new for him in this regard. This is kind of the first time at the collegiate level where he's coaching with these kind of expectations without a team that has the framework built for how to handle it yet. So there's that part of the maturity that he's going through. Reading about yourself, top 25, winning even though you haven't been perfect. You've had some warts that you've won with, but still embracing wins. The CEO facet of it where you're hands off, but you're not hands off. How much is too much when you trust your coordinators? Coordinators, head coaches coach coordinators coach position coaches coach players. He's feeling his way through that. How much do I need to be on the gas? How much do I need to lay off the gas? He's evaluating himself real time too. So don't think that he isn't either maybe kicking himself as he kind of seems like a, what's his line? Don't pass up a crisis as a learning opportunity or something like that. I think he's looking at it and evaluating himself too about how and when to stay on the gas with this type of team handling these types of situations. It's new for him too.
Something that
he hasn't gone through it with these guys.
No,
right?
He hasn't. And I think that's part of what I was going to bring up next is something that we've talked a lot about on this show and something that you've been making everybody aware of is emotional maturity.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways. Like, it doesn't just happen after Houston Christian or an Akron or a big win over Cincinnati. It happens on the other end of the meter too.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's so important. And we get so, you heard it all week. We get so mad as a fan base and sometimes in the media when we don't understand, well, how does this happen? This is Minnesota. You know, they've beat you X amount of times. How can you not be ready? And you talk about a two-way street or going both ways. If you've tried to instill in this team that 2024 isn't your burden to bear, 2023 isn't your burden to bear, this is a new team, your chapter, then you have to also understand that they didn't play against those Minnesota teams. This version of a temperament and a mentality heading into Minnesota. Now they know. Right? Now they know. It's a tough lesson to learn real time, but it won't happen to them again. Right? Like it drives me crazy how sometimes we think we don't have to put something in the Rolodex first before we've learned it. Right? I just listened to Kirby Smart talk about Georgia and what happens during their bye week. You know what he talked about? He talked about the Tennessee game and having to come back against Ole Miss, and he said, two things people underestimate. Number one, how hard it is to win. Number two, how long it takes to build resolve. He said resolve is one of those things you think you know what it means until you have to develop it, and then you can't put a time frame on how long it takes. And I'm thinking to myself, man, there's so many different examples of when you have to use it. Sometimes it's coming off 2 wins and people are saying good things about you. That's a different kind of resolve. Sometimes it's hanging in there and you haven't quite broke through, but you know you're close. That's a different kind of resolve. Sometimes it's you felt like you did everything you could, you didn't get the desired outcome. That's a different kind of, like, just all the scenarios that you have to toughen up, to leather up that skin. This is just part of the growth process for this football team.
And I think it's almost a block.
That's a guy that's won some titles too.
100%.
Yeah.
And boy, you listen to his messages to his teams, like, good night. Like
he acts like they haven't won anything.
Yeah.
Which is probably part of the success.
But it's also, I say there's also a reason why he is where he is. And I think, too, the other great thing today, Damon, you could almost swap uniforms of Minnesota Northwestern.
Oh, yeah.
And you get another crack at it, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, these teams
really good yards after contact,
Yeah.
patient in the ground game. Here's the cool thing. You want to know, and we'll get into this probably with opponent preview, but you know what you're going to get with Northwestern, especially defensively. The quarters coverage, the pre-snap looks, what happens from the 20 to the 20. I thought Minnesota was really good in that part where their pre-snaps, their disguising. I thought Danny Collins, their defensive coordinator, did a really good job with pre-snap looks and coaching those guys up. Northwestern's going to more line up and play it, right? So how do you handle that dynamic of knowing what you want to get, you're going to get, versus this is what we need to do? That's a little tricky sometimes for coordinators. Now, they're going to do this. This is where they're supposed to be, so this should work. You're going to have to fight that today.
It's just funny hearing you say that, because it's like you're there in your first snap, right? And we talked about the other end, about things being different on tape and the set of anxiety that comes with it. But, you're a tight end. You line on the end line of scrimmage, put your hand in there, and you go, oh, boy, yep, this is exactly what we saw.
Yeah.
Like, this is
There's multiple ways to skin a cat. You can get the pre-snap looks like you get with Minnesota or Ohio State, or you can know what you're going to get with Iowa, and it still works, right? There's multiple ways to get the outcome you want.
And it's almost like when that happens, you're like, you watch us on film. Why are you still doing this? Like, why didn't you try something else? And so it weighs on your mind just in a completely different way.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we've had our morning caffeine. Hopefully you're working on the same. We have a breakfast pizza that needs to be taken care of here in the studio. Hopefully it's a little bit better than our pregame breakfast that we had in the Twin Cities.
At least we got there.
Yeah, we eventually. Really nice fella gave us a lift. Yeah, that's a conversation for another day. But
it's a Minnesota thing.
Yeah, that should have been an omen for the day right there.
Yep.
But hey, so we all learn lessons every day. Appreciate everybody dial us up here this morning. We've got another hour and a half before we hand things over to Kyle Crooks and count down to kick off. A lot less shenanigans on his show than ours.
He's pretty buttoned up, straight-laced.
So we'll get that stuff out of the way, but we will talk some more football, some X's and O's. I'm curious to see, Damon, your perspective on some things that I picked up from Northwestern this week. And
yeah, you're pretty good at this. So it'll probably be me that's learning.
I don't know. I just look for you for validation, so I'm not crazy. But we will continue along regardless here on the show, covering Husker Nation and beyond. Call on Dakota Mac, discuss all your ag financing needs. Learn more at dakotamac.com. We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll get into a little bit of what we saw X's and O's wise with Minnesota and kind of what we took away from it and probably what the team took away as well. That'll be next. Stay with us.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Here, fall means two things, harvest and football. Just like Nebraska, you run on something powerful. Diesel for your farm, gas in your tank, or propane heating your home. Sap Bros keeps your farm and family fueled. We're kicking off with a Big Red giveaway. Enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits when you contract fuel with Sap Bros. And when Nebraska wins, you win. Score a free king-size Reese's in the Sap app, whether you're hauling harvest or headed to the game. Sap Bros fuels Nebraska.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Tired of worrying about what to make for dinner? Try Gary's Quick Steak. It's delicious, convenient, and easy to make in minutes as it cooks from frozen. It also has over 20 grams of protein per serving, is gluten-free, and is made with real beef and chicken. Enjoy sandwiches, enchiladas, stir-fry, quality sirloin chicken and corned beef ready in minutes. Simply sizzle, flip, and savor.
I promise you, if you try it, you're absolutely going to love it.
Visit our website to find a store near you.
In Nebraska, the good life means mornings that wait for you, a porch swing or a skyline view, work that matters, and time that's yours. Neighbors who wave, hey there. Stars you can almost touch, a mortgage that makes sense, more space, more time, more life. Nebraska, the good life is calling. Are you ready to answer? Learn more about living in Nebraska at www.thegoodlifeiscalling.com.
From Omaha to Ogallala, Nebraska is 2 million Huskers strong. And Medica has health plans to cover them all. From the farmer with a growing family, to the barista at the corner coffee shop, to the grandpa who gets his grandkids off to school. No matter where you are in life, we have health plans to meet your needs.
We got your back.
With Medica, you're not just covered, you're cared for. Find out more at medica.com. That's medica.com.
We got your back.
Nebraska football fans know what it takes to be the best. You've got to handle the heat, power through the cold, read the pressure. Same goes for the techs at John Henry's. They're trusted to perform when it's all on the line. When winter's driving hard and your furnace fumbles. When your thermostat is in the red zone. When the power goes out before the final whistle. Make the easy call.
Call 435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing. Heating and air.
And electrical.
SOS to the rescue.
Call SOS, a trustworthy company since 1950. Their technicians don't earn commission. This equals fair treatment to their customers. SOS is a family-owned third-generation company, and now to celebrate the 75th year in business for a limited time, get a New York AC or furnace for $75 per month. Get you and your loved ones comfortable again with SOS.
SOS to the rescue. SOS. SOS.
Call 402-391-2336.
Farming is hard work. Between managing crops, livestock, and equipment, there's not much time left to handle financing and loans. At Dakota Mac, we can help you do the heavy lifting when it comes to ag financing. Whether you're a full-time farmer, an investor, or a young and beginning farmer, we're here for you for all your ag lending needs. Let Dakota Mac help you work smarter, not harder.
Hi, it's Boyd Minray from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-463-4637. Learn how Dakota Mac products can work for you.
You're listening to Husker Gameday, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Hey, Husker fans, some people just know how you can save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Visit allstate.com or call a local agent for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Welcome back to the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day Show. Ben McLaughlin joined, as always, by Damon Benning. Let's peel back the onion a little bit of Minnesota, Damon. And, I think for me, there are a couple of things that I'm kind of carrying with me this week that in terms of maybe points of frustration that I would like to see cleaned up. And one of them I talked about with you yesterday, and I know it's kind of crawling under your skin, and we're starting to highlight it more and more on the broadcast, tackling. I mean, this is part of it's not just Minnesota. It's kind of cleaning up from a couple of weeks pounding. And to me, it's almost at times getting worse. And I would just like to see that nipped today.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And you got to remember, defensively, a lot of tackling starts with trust. It's not only just trust in your own abilities and where you need to be, but everybody that precedes you on each level, right? And you can get a lot of hats to the ball, and you can get downhill and play a certain way when everybody's doing their job. And I think with Nebraska, it starts with their discipline. And it's eye discipline. What are my keys? What are my base fundamentals? And I get it. It sounds super boring, and it's not fancy, and we want to just say a player isn't good enough. And sometimes they aren't. But for the most part, at this level, you have options. So you'll find out the guys that are capable. So if that's the case, then it's, and listen, if I'm, the long touchdown run, I could go over that thing 15 times and tell you what happened, right? A guy slips backside A gap. A guy's slow to fit front side because the guy went backside A gap. And because a guy's slow to fit front side, his cutback guy is a little hesitant. And because the front side guy and the cutback guy are a little hesitant, it widens the runway for a safety that's got to come downhill. It's all those things culminate into, 70-yard runs. But here's the beautiful thing about it, B-Mac, with tackling. If I'm Nebraska, and they're smarter than me, so I'm guessing a lot of these long runs of 20-plus that go for touchdowns look a lot alike. Mm-hmm. Whether it's boundary runs, putting a corner in conflict, getting to safety, making a safety fit. A lot of them look alike. And sometimes it's runs that teams haven't really incorporated yet. But if you know that this is a copycat league, I'd spend time fitting in the run game, doing those specific things just over and over and over again. And then there's the easier answer, where sometimes it's just want to. Sometimes it's just good old-fashioned want to. Like, pride kicks in, it's mano-a-mano, and you just convince yourself you're not making this play. You're making the play. So we'll see. It's a mindset, but it starts with 11 guys doing their 1 of 11.
One thing that I did want to kind of bring up and talk about, maybe to a more casual fan, Damon, especially when you're talking about stopping the runs, it seems so simple. Tackle the guy with the ball.
I know,
right? Like, there are a lot of people yelling at their TV.
I love it. Just get him to the ground.
And in Pee Wee football, that's what you're teaching your kids, right? Rally to the ball. Yeah. But at this level, there's so much that goes into it. Yeah. And you kind of started to talk about it with the 3 different levels of the defense and how it's a domino effect from there. Mm-hmm. Walk through it with us, to our listeners, why it's important. You'll hear us talk about gap integrity or not reaching or head placement. Those small things that lead to the massive things. One guy trying to be a hero by reaching his arm, whatever the case might be, what has to happen in order to be successful, other than someone just whipping a guy up front and a TFL in the background, backfield, which is always the ideal scenario. Why it's important for everybody to, as we always say, do their 1 of 11, and if you don't, what tends to happen?
Yeah, so I think, like lay terms, you just think of if you just go guard, center, tackle, right? From the center to the guard is A gap. From the guard to the tackle is B gap. From a tackle to the tight end is C gap. So everybody, you have weak side A's and strong side A's, like to the ball, away from the ball. So everybody has a gap. And now who has those gaps can always change. That's what the defensive calls are for, right? You can do that. So sometimes plays will unfold and you'll see a play you think you can make. I'm an A gap run fitter, but that B gap looks awful open. I think I'm going to take it. Well, somebody has to play behind you that may not understand gap exchange, or you're not supposed to gap exchange. So there's where the trust kicks in. Now, I get it. See ball, get ball. That's kind of how we just think when we watch it. It doesn't really work like that real time because the guys that have the ball, they have a dry erase board and a marker too, like I like to say. So it starts with alignment. How do I get lined up? Then it's, what's my assignment? Alignment, assignment, technique. Over and over and over again. What happens sometimes is we do two things. Number one, we panic, feel like you got to make a play, and you get hero ball, or we take the path of least resistance. Oh my gosh, you mean I could fit behind him and still try to get there and not have to play through him? Usually when you take the path of least resistance, it winds up really, really poor. And I think for Nebraska, they have got to just get back to doing your job. It's amazing how many times it just boils down to just being a little undisciplined, where I don't know if it's hero ball as much as I see a play, I want to go make the play. There's so many times, Benny Mac, defensively, where you actually make the play without making the play. You either occupy, you take on a guy, you fit it the right way so it cannot get outside of you. You're not going to make the tackle, but you sure did help your buddy out next to you because you shortened his run. That's what Nebraska's got to get a better job of doing.
And it's what makes football fun to try and figure out, right? Like,
for some.
Yeah, well, that's true. Without sitting here, to a radio audience explaining the play, let's just use that long run from last week as the example, right? Bad gap integrity from the D-line.
Yep.
Your linebackers immediately having to make a split-second decision, reading what's in front of him.
Yep.
So he's already off kilter, whether he makes the right decision or wrong decision. And now you're asking your safety to cover 20 yards of width.
When he's probably thinking 10 to 12.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So it's a domino effect, and, I think it's a really intriguing conversation to have because it's not just, that guy has the ball, I'm going to go tackle him.
Yeah, and what's interesting, too, is we were because we didn't take it. We didn't think much about context when Coach Butler was answering a question that about a statement Coach Rule had made earlier in the week. We just looked at it like, oh, my gosh, this guy's kind of gun shy. Although, if we think about it like anybody else, whether it's a mechanic that had a bad exchange with a customer, whether it's a lawyer that had objection was overruled, a teacher that gets the wrong phone call from a parent or student interaction. Sometimes we act as though these people don't have anything that goes on throughout the course of their normal business day that disrupts the rest of their business day. It happens a ton in coaching, too. You can have these great blitz pickups and packages, and they don't get home, and so you stop bringing pressures. Or you think you've got this great front, and it gets diced up early, so you don't come back to it. That happens all the time. So he's looking at this thing. He's like, well, I put these guys on the move. We stunted against Michigan against this very same concept, and we did a little TE stun. And you guys said, well, why are you being so busy up front? Why are you putting these guys on the move? Why can't you just line up and play it? So this time we just line up and play it. do that either. So as a coordinator, you're always trying to figure out how can I play and call games to my guys' strengths. And I think at that point, he's also thinking about how the offense is playing too. That's what he didn't say. Right? When you've been inside the 15 twice and you come up with 6 points, or, you don't feel like you're clicking, or you're down 2 linemen, like, your coordinator knows that it's complementary football. So he's going to call the game or think about the game in a certain way. And he was open and honest enough to tell us that. And we didn't like that either. It's just like, hey, I appreciate the fact that you were transparent enough to let us know what's going on. Because if you acted like you didn't know what happened, that would be alarming. I appreciate you telling us.
Instead of scrolling phones or telling stories on the bus, that's what they're doing. They're racking their brains of what I should or shouldn't have done, or how I should or shouldn't have went about that.
You're something else.
Coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best player on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Sober drivers are the only choice. Impaired driving is deceptively dangerous. From the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Let's get our first check of the traffic. Here's Trooper Brett.
Good morning, Husker Nation, and welcome back after the Huskers road trip. Traffic is starting to build, but it's flowing normally towards Memorial Stadium as fans head to today's game against Northwestern. Just a couple of disabled vehicles to keep an eye out for on I-80. Troopers are also en route to assist a motorist near mile marker 382 on I-80 eastbound. If you're driving to Lincoln from the west, consider taking Highway 77 southbound to Rosa Parks Way. A great defense prevents touchdowns on the field, and wearing your seatbelt prevents tragedies on the road. Be sure to buckle up every time. I'm Trooper Brett with the Nebraska State Patrol on the Huskers Radio Network. This traffic report is brought to you by the NDOT.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Tackle the toughest tasks on your farm with Brand Agricultural Products. They've got a complete lineup of grain handling and tillage equipment to take you from the preseason all the way to the playoffs or harvest. All their ag equipment is North American built and backed by an extensive network of dealerships that provide support over the long run. Lead the field with Brand Agricultural Products. Visit Brand.ca for more.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Set, hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play, knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
Preparation is the key to success on game day. And like your favorite Huskers on the field, you need to be ready right from the opening kickoff. Cenex has your pregame routine covered. We've got your salty snacks, your sweet treats, ice-cold beverages to wash them down, and fresh tanks of propane to fire up the grill. Fuel your fandom at your local Cenex station. Husker Pride, powered locally.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Here, fall means two things, harvest and football. Just like Nebraska, you run on something powerful. Diesel for your farm, gas in your tank, or propane heating your home. Sap Bros keeps your farm and family fueled. We're kicking off with a Big Red giveaway. Enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits when you contract fuel with Sap Bros. And when Nebraska wins, you win. Score a free king-size Reese's in the Sap app, whether you're hauling harvest or headed to the game. Sap Bros fuels Nebraska.
It's not a job. I don't start my day by logging in or end my shift by punching out. I don't have a corner office, but I do have a seat with a view. I get to see every sunrise and every sunset, And while I may technically be my own boss, I fully accept that I am not in charge. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
Farming is hard work. Between managing crops, livestock, and equipment, there's not much time left to handle financing and loans. At Dakota Mac, we can help you do the heavy lifting when it comes to ag financing. Whether you're a full-time farmer, an investor, or a young and beginning farmer, we're here for you for all your ag lending needs. Let Dakota Mac help you work smarter, not harder.
Hi, it's Boyd Minray from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-463-4637 to learn how Dakota Mac products can work for you.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome into this week's Cornhusker Conversation presented by Woodhouse. I'm Jessica Cootie and excited to be joined by the sophomore kicker Kyle Cunan in his first season with the Huskers, off to a great start. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. I'm super excited, happy I could be here.
How has it been being a Nebraska Cornhusker?
It's been awesome so far. The team's been great, the coaching staff's been awesome, and then the fan base and the community has been something like I've never been a part of before. I had never been in Nebraska before I came on my OV, and I didn't really know what to expect, and it's been so great so far.
Well, I want to dive into your backstory, how you got here, all of that. But a little bit just going back to last week, I know this team, the soccer room, very disappointed following last week's performance. How's practices and how's the team responded, I guess, throughout this week?
So far, it's been great. It always sucks to lose. Mm-hmm. But we've definitely rallied together, and we're using this as a moment to come together. As Coach Rule said, it pisses us off, Like we have definitely found our edge, and we're figuring out everything that we need to figure out, and come Saturday, we'll be prepared for the next game.
You've been a big bright spot for this team this year. I mean, just how have you felt just in your role settling in and with the special teams unit? What has that been like being a part of that? And I guess what's fed into your confidence when you run out there?
It's been really cool with us so far. Ever since I got here, I've felt super welcomed. All of the coaches and especially the guys in the special teams unit, they've been super, super helpful and really welcoming. We've actually all grown really close in the 3 months it's been already. It just every day through, whether it was fall camp or into the season, we continue to push each other to be the best versions of ourselves. And I love that. We say iron sharpens iron. And when you have someone that's just as good as you chomping at the bit each and every day, it pushes you to be better, it pushes him to be better, and overall it just helps everybody out.
It's awesome. Okay, so take me back to that first conversation with Mike Eckler. What do you remember about that conversation? What hooked you, I guess, from that first time you talked with Coach Eckler?
Before that, even my kicking coach, Adam Tanowski, he prefaced the fact that Coach Eckler is going to have a lot of energy on the phone, and I'm a pretty mellow, like kind of calm guy, and he's like, you have to match it, all right? And he's like, I know you, and this is going to be hard for you, but you have to match it. And I said, all right, I got this. And as soon as Coach Eck picked up the phone, he was full of energy. It was definitely exactly what I was expecting, given what my coach had told me, and it was awesome. And I had never had a conversation with a coach who was as excited as Coach Eckler is and always is. It wasn't like it was just the first time talking to him kind of energy. He continues to have it day in and day out. And it really was like no one I've ever talked to.
So you come on your official visit, you had talked about you had never been to Nebraska. So why did you feel like when you were looking kind of for your next spot, I know academics played a big role, but the football part of it, why did you feel like this was the spot for you?
I'd never been in school-wise, football has never been a huge part of the community at either of the places that I'd been previously. And one of my buddies, he has grown up a Husker fan. He's from Gothenburg, and he was my punter at Charlotte. So we'd watch Husker football every Saturday or every day that we could, and when it didn't overlap with our games. And just the environment and everything you'd see on TV, it was awesome. And it was interesting because we actually joked about me going to Nebraska when I was at Charlotte. Once I knew I was hitting the portal, and we were like, whatever. Yeah, right. Maybe it'll happen. Who knows? But it was really cool when it kind of came full circle there, and it actually happened. And Coach Eckler played a big role. He has a tremendous reputation everywhere he's been. And one of my really good buddies, who is the kicker at Tennessee, Max Gilbert, had just spoken the world of him. And that was a huge part in it as well, just because Max is someone I can trust, and he spoke great things about Coach Eck, and all of them have come to be true. And so between the community, the fan base, what we're trying to do here as a team, really turn this place around and turn it into what it once was, or even better, it's just kind of something that I like to be a part of, and it was really, really a big part of why I kind of chose here.
Oh, that's great. What a cool story. What did your friend say when you said, hey, I'm going to be a Cornhusker?
He didn't believe me at first. He's like, you're joking, right? Because we had joked about it in the past, and, he didn't believe me. And I was like, well, you can choose not to believe me, but when you see me there in 2 weeks on my OV, then maybe you'll believe me then. No, he was super excited. He was super pumped.
So besides just the energy and like that infectious energy of Coach Eckler, I mean, we've seen just a huge turnaround in the special teams production and in all phases of the special teams. From your perspective as a kicker, what is it about Coach Eckler that he's allowed for this type of turnaround and really belief and confidence in every single part of the special teams? He
says every day that if anything goes wrong, he's taking the fall for it. And he's like, you have no reason not to, any of you, to go out there and do the best you can, put your best swing on the ball and just rip it without any thought of any repercussion, because I'll take it if anything goes wrong. And, that's really helped big time because, there's a lot of times where you can be out there and you're kicking not to miss instead of kicking to make it kind of thing, just because you're so scared of the repercussions or what could happen after it. And he's kind of he's given us that freedom to go out there and just strike the ball without worrying about the blowback, without worrying about what could happen after. And in that, it brings out the best in you, because when you're playing, you're freely and you're playing with poise and confidence, you're going to be playing the best that you can play.
What about Coach Maher? How helpful is that to have a guy like him that you get to work with every day? He's been awesome. Not only has he helped like fundamentally, but between the ears too, like the mental part of the game, he's been a big help in all of that. He's got the experience, he's got the record to back it up, and he's been in a lot of the situations we have been in or we will be in. So he's definitely been able to kind of talk us through it and prepare us for any situation. That way, when the time does come, we are ready for it. And he's been a huge help throughout even the summer and then into now. And I think that as the season progresses and as we keep going for the next few years, like, it's only going to get better. For those of us that will never kick a 50-yard field goal with the game on the line, what does that mental part look like? I mean, what does that thought process? Why is that so important? What is that kind of process through your mind to be able to have that confidence to have a big kick with the game on the line? Something that we talk about a lot is our process in cementing it, regardless of if it's a game winner from 50 yards or if it's an extra point, kind of going through the same thing every time. That way it's cemented in and we're not caught off guard or anything unexpected happens if it is a big kick. And when you do cement that process in and when you do understand what your process is every single time, it becomes easier and it doesn't feel like a situation you're unprepared for or a situation you should be more nervous for because you've done it however many times you've done it in practice and games. And, at the end of the day, it just becomes another kick. And while it could bear more weight than, say, an extra point, in theory, an extra point's good from the same spot a 50-yard game winner's good from. It doesn't change anything. And Coach Maher has helped us with that and building our process and, going down to every single word we say to ourselves as we're running out on the field or before we run out on the field, and just locking that in so that we give ourselves the best opportunity to be the best we can be each and every kick. Great stuff. How would you describe Ja'Cory Barney as a supporter of the special teams units and your unit in particular? Oh, he's awesome. Every field goal period in practice, every time we're kicking in the game, he's bringing the energy. We ran out there today, and he was the first one over for the field goal period, yelling, "Come on, Kyle, let's go!" And every kick, every time, he's bringing the energy, and it's pretty awesome. And he also plays a huge role in special teams, returning punts and whatnot.
So I respect him big time for all that, but he also is a huge guy on field goal when it comes to bringing the energy and getting everyone hyped up and kind of making it a part of practice that everyone looks forward to instead of just a part of practice that happens.
That's awesome. You know, another guy, too, that's become quite the favorite and you're pretty close with is Archie Wilson. You guys kind of came in together, didn't really know many people. Tell us about that and just how important that relationship's been for you.
No, it's been huge. We, when he got here for his OV, I was moving in. And we came in for our physicals at the same time. And he came with his family and whatnot. So I met his whole family and I met his brothers, and we got to be pretty close. And so when in kind of that transition, you know, we kind of relied on each other because we didn't really know anybody else. And I mean, shoot, we didn't really know each other. But it was at least a connection that we had here, and whether it was going out to eat and that kind of stuff, or we have a friend who lives out in Valley, Nebraska, and we'd go out there and go fishing, and just kept building that bond, and now we're close as ever. And I'm close to his family too. When they came back for the first few games or first 4 games, we'd go hang out all together at his family's place or eat dinner and stuff like that. But it's been a big part in kind of getting settled in here, and you know, I'm really grateful that he's here and that we were able to get as close as we have so far.
So you guys like some fishing when you're not playing football?
Yeah, I'm a big time fishing. It's probably a top 3 hobby for me. If the weather's right and we're not playing football or have class, I'm probably fishing.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so if anybody's listening in and has some spots, you're open to any suggestions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've just kind of been pond hopping or did some pretty cool walleye fishing out at Blue Water Lake with a guy that Coach Eck put us in contact with, and it's been awesome. His family's great, and he's been super welcoming, and kind of just, we'll text him, and he'll be like, yeah, come on out, we'll go fishing, I'm down. And it's at any time of the week, he's always ready to go, and it's been great.
Oh, that's awesome. So you played soccer growing up. That's kind of how you got the leg that you have.
Yep, I did my entire life. Started when I was 4 years old, and then I played all the way up through my senior year of high school.
So why football over soccer?
You know, actually, the first time I ever kicked a football, I don't even know how old I was. I might have been 12 years old-ish, around there. It was whenever the Super Bowl was in Arizona. It was the Patriots and someone else. I can't remember who they played. But I was at the NFL Experience, and they have like a little field goal kind of kicking thing set up, and I waited in line for like an hour and a half. And when I went out there, I was just in tennis shoes. I'm like, all right, I think it was a regular extra point, maybe 20 yards probably. And I smoked it. I was like, all right, we got to back up. And so I think I only got back to like 30 yards, but I was like, all right, when I get to high school, this is what I'm doing. And sure enough, when I got to high school, I still had that same itch to kick, and kind of the rest is history.
Wow, that's amazing. What a story. So going to the Super Bowl Experience led to your college football career, basically.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Wow. So then how did it develop for you once you got there? You still had the itch for it, but when did it become something, okay, I maybe want to do this in college?
So when I got to high school, I didn't exactly know what team I'd be playing for because we had a senior that we kicked on varsity the year before, and I was coming in as a freshman. So I spent the entire summer with the freshman football team, as one would, and then the freshman coach put me in contact with the special teams coordinator for the varsity team. He's like, just to get some work in with him and that kind of stuff. And so I started kicking with him, and he's like, we're going to see what coach thinks about you. The varsity coach, his name was Coach Pieri. We're going to see what he thinks. We'll get you kicking in practice here in a couple weeks. And I said, oh, all right. A couple weeks go by, and practice is coming to an end, and they're getting ready to run gassers for conditioning at the end of practice. And the varsity head coach calls me up, and surrounded by a bunch of guys I'd never seen before. They hung 2 backpacks on the fence, probably 40 yards down the field that I had to make it between. And they set up the operation, just a snapper and a holder. And he goes, all right, you got to make these kicks. You're going to have 4. If you go 4 for 4, we run no gassers. Everyone you miss will run a gasser. So everyone was getting excited, and I ended up making them all, and they didn't have to run any. So that was pretty awesome. And then after that, I started practicing with them. And as we got into the season, or closer to the season, I should say, I started getting more reps, and I was the kicker on varsity as a freshman from there on out, and then I stayed there throughout my 4 years. But my special teams coordinator, we called him Padre. He was actually the priest at the church I go to in Phoenix, and he's played a huge role in my life. He still texts me every week. We text back and forth about the upcoming game and all that kind of stuff. And every time I go back home, I'll go to a service and we'll go out to lunch or something after. But that was kind of where I got to in high school. And then about my sophomore year was when I kind of realized that I could take this to the next level. Didn't know what it would look like really. But at this point, I was still pretty raw in terms of my form and how I kicked the ball. I grew up playing soccer, so I was just kind of figuring it out. And then I went to a couple camps, but this was kind of around the time that COVID had hit, and camp shut down for a little while. And then towards the end of my sophomore year, I started going to more camps. And then in my junior year is when I went to Hammer Kicking Academy, and that was when I met my current kicking coach, Adam Tanowski. And he was like, we're going to get you somewhere. Believe that. Just a matter of where. And I was like, that was great news to hear. I was super excited. It was a little on edge because I didn't know where or what it would look like, but I was confident in him to place me somewhere. And as we kept working together, I ended up getting the offer to Charlotte, which is where I was at initially, and that was kind of the story of that.
Wow, you have some great stories. Would you have ever thought when you were kicking through the backpacks that you'd be one day kicking in front of 90,000 in Memorial Stadium?
The thought didn't really cross my mind at that point. No, I don't think so. I was kind of I'll feel this out, see where it takes me, and we'll go from there kind of thing.
Wow.
But
that's incredible. Wow. What a journey. I could talk to you for another hour, but let's, I guess, circle back and going into this week. I mean, I guess, first of all, what has it been like for you to be here at home? How have you got about feeling out the comfortability of kicking in this stadium with the wind and all of that? And you gotta love kicking in front of Husker Nation.
Absolutely. First thing, the wind, it can affect your ball as much as you let it. Something we say in the spec room, whether it's kicking or punting, it's don't let the wind beat your best ball. And, it's kind of removing environmental issues from the equation and just solely focusing on how well you can strike the ball. Because if you hit your best ball, it's at the end of the day, the wind, if it does touch it, it won't affect it much, or it could not hit it at all. And that's very largely due to how you hit the contact. And that's something that I can control. And being in Memorial Stadium, the wind can swirl a little bit, but for the most part, it's never to a point where I have to start my line like outside the uprights and let it draw it back in because, if I square it up, if I hit it clean, it won't affect it that much. And so every time I go out there, my goal is to hit the cleanest ball possible. And in theory, the wind won't affect it as much, and it ends up working out. And that's thus far has been successful, or we've been successful in that. And, it has also helped that we have a super good operation between Kevin snapping and Cook holding. That they've made my life as easy as it can be. And then when it comes down to it, it's just about putting it through the uprights. And then the kicking in Memorial Stadium in front of all the Husker fans is like nothing else. It's when you're out there, it kind of just turns into white noise where you can't really hear one individual thing. It's just kind of kind of like a busy signal when you're on the phone. But it's really cool having that much support. Every single week we're at home. And it's unlike any place I've ever been, even on the road for that matter.
I was going to say, give you a chance to brag on the guys that are helping you, because we heard Coach Eckler back in camp talk about it's not always on the kicker. I mean, everything's got to be right. And it just seems like you guys have such a cool bond relationship. That's important, right, for what you are doing, the people around you and just the comfortability that you feel and the confidence are those guys that are doing the other part of the operation before you even kick it.
Absolutely. Building the chemistry that we've built and are continuing to build as a unit plays a huge role in confidence. Knowing the ball is going to be to the exact spot it needs to be with the right lean and all that kind of stuff every single time it really lifts the weight off my shoulder again. It gives me the opportunity to go out there and just swing and, put my best hit on the ball. And it's kind of gotten to the point where if anything's even just the slightest bit off, it's a little weird because we're so used to it being perfect every time, and that's our goal. Our goal is to be the best, and we achieve that 99% of the time. But it definitely helps confidence-wise, you being able to go out there to trust the operation and trust that everything's going to go smoothly. And, me filling my 34% of the operation, because it's 33, 33, 34 between the three of us, is as easy as it can be because they do such a good job at their jobs.
Do you really enjoy, relish the fact that in the Big Ten, a lot of times it comes down to maybe a field goal or special teams to be able to win some of these games?
Absolutely. Something we talk about a lot with, especially Coach Maher, is special teams is going to affect the game every single game, whether it's a deep punt that pins them on the 2 or it's a field goal to take the lead or it could be only field goals. However it works out, special teams is going to play a role, and we have to do the best that we can do every time so that we are a positive impact on the team and a positive impact on the outcome of the game. And, being in the Big Ten, I think that it's really, really cool being able to have as much of an impact that we can have every single game.
Last thing, just how much do you believe that this team, I know it was not the performance that you guys wanted to put out last time out. How ready is this group, and how much do you believe this group is going to come out and be better come Saturday when you kick this thing off at 11 a.m. against Northwestern?
Oh, I believe in the guys 100%. I think we're going to go out there and we're all going to put together a complete game in all 3 phases of football, whether it's offense, defense, and special teams. We've definitely are on the right track. The vibes in the locker room have been super high, super ready to get after it. And we completely respect Northwestern and that they're a good team. And I think we'll be able to put it all together and have a great week.
Great stuff. What an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for chatting with us. We appreciate you spending some time with us here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
And sophomore kicker Kyle Cunan here with us on this week's Cornhusker Conversation presented by Woodhouse. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
The work is dirty and sometimes dangerous. It's the kind that can break your body, and if you let it, your spirit. But while there may be better ways to make a living, you won't convince me there's a better way to live. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
Let's pause 15 seconds for station identification on the Huskers Radio Network. This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Tackle the toughest tasks on your farm with Brand Agricultural Products. They've got a complete lineup of grain handling and tillage equipment to take you from the preseason all the way to the playoffs or harvest. All their ag equipment is North American built and backed by an extensive network of dealerships that provide support over the long run. Lead the field with Brand Agricultural Products. Visit Brand.ca for more.
Set, hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play, knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. it means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles, or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Tackle the toughest tasks on your farm with Brand Agricultural Products. They've got a complete lineup of grain handling and tillage equipment to take you from the preseason all the way to the playoffs or harvest. All their ag equipment is North American built and backed by an extensive network of dealerships that provide support over the long run. Lead the field with Brand Agricultural Products. Visit Brand.ca for more.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Here, fall means two things: harvest and football. Just like Nebraska, you run on something powerful. Diesel for your farm, gas in your tank, or propane heating your home. Sap Bros keeps your farm and family fueled. We're kicking off with a big red giveaway. Enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits when you contract fuel with Sap Bros. And when Nebraska wins, you win. Score a free king-size Reese's in the Sap app, whether you're hauling harvest or headed to the game. Sap Bros fuels Nebraska.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day Show. Whether you're a farmer, rancher, investor, or simply Husker fan, look to Dakota Mac for your ag financing needs. Visit dakotamac.com to learn more. Ben McLaughlin, Damon Benning back with you. Hope you enjoyed our Cornhusker conversation this week with Nebraska kicker Kyle Cunan, and could be the difference maker today with what type of game we're expecting here at Memorial Stadium. Damon, something we didn't get into in our Minnesota chatter a while back was the elephant in the room, that being the sacks that Nebraska gave up. I know this was a lightning rod for conversation this week for fans and media. Anytime you allow another team to get a program record in anything, I think it's probably worth a discussion. I think the cop-out answer for us, right, when we go back and have our rewatch of how these things happen, it sounds cliche and a cop-out, but I think it holds a lot of water that sacks happen for a variety of different reasons. When you went back and watched the tape on Dylan and the performance of the makeshift O-line, what'd you take away?
Yeah, so two things. Number one, I actually agreed with Coach Rule, where even real time, because I wanted to go back and listen to the broadcast a little bit where I talked about with Kyle just miscommunication on the first handful of plays. A lot of it was not just the RPOs, but pass protection as well, right? Where back lines up, who's inside, do they want to stay big on big? I was a little surprised to hear Coach Rule be as detailed he was, because the question was specific to the tackles in the offensive line playing sacks. And he said, setting the protection, the correct route being run, getting into and out of the back where the backs are set, putting the offensive linemen in positions to be comfortable from a play calling standpoint where they could be aggressive. Like, he really went there as a coach to tell you it's not just what you guys think, like guys just running by people, right? We're better than that. I know that's what it looks like because it's easy to see, but there's a lot that goes into that. And I agree with him, right? I've been a back, and there's some past series that you're like, all right, am I working inside out? Do I have in-man on the line of scrimmage? Are we staying big? There's always that. Then the linemen have to do it. Canuck was playing right. At one point during the commercial break, I think I asked you, we may need a reset here on who's where along the offensive line, right? So it was just... And it's no excuse for the outcome. The difference between, I say this all the time, an excuse and an explanation is accountability. Those guys will be accountable. There's no question. But the explanation is in real time, you've just got to be better. It's a lot of people that need to do things differently. It's not just one thing.
And you talk about accountability. You know the quarterback's taking accountability too.
Yeah, he takes it hard.
And I think, when you go back and watch Dylan, there are a couple of things that I think you might see differently moving forward. I think to me, his first instinct is to go backwards when he sees pressure. There was more than a few times where there was a clean pocket if he could step up and deliver the throw. And the other thing, and we kind of noticed this a little bit in the Terrapin game, or the Michigan game is another one that comes to mind. There are times when it feels like he needs to just rip it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's lack of confidence in himself or seeing things a certain way or whatever the case might be. There are guys open.
Right.
And it's just letting the thing go and letting it rip. And I know, I can just see him with an iPad right now, going through the film, just going, what was I doing?
Yep.
Does that play an impact in all this as well?
Yeah, so I think a couple things can be true at once. Number one, I think there are a couple times, you got to get the check down. There was the big play that we kind of left out there to Barney on the little over route. We ended up taking a sack there. I think he'll come back and see that where he flushed himself out of the pocket. There are always those little things, right? Then there's when they give me check with me's and RPOs and I have run pass options, sometimes, and I get it, in comes down, you may not want to keep. Sometimes you just got to give that thing, right? Just to establish some continuity. So I think Nebraska will do a couple of different things. Number one, I think you have to start with more EJ touches, right? Regardless, I think he's got to probably touch the ball more. Number two, you probably limit to some degree the check with me's and just call conventional true run plays to get that run thing established. That'll go with point number one in more touches. Number three is, you have to have new quick game. People are going to pressure Nebraska. So I think hot routes and happies and things like that where you get the ball out of your hand right now.
Like Cincinnati.
Yeah, right. And remember, we didn't like that.
Yeah,
it was
uproar.
Man, that was just too much check down Charlie, and where are the big plays going to come from? So,
yeah, what a terrible win that was.
So that I think they'll incorporate that, and then the other thing is how you run the ball to let those guys get lathered up. Just physicality in the run game with downhill run game can slow down pass rush.
Yeah, and
I think the most alarming thing, B, is they just haven't. Nebraska's allowed teams that haven't been good at what they do to be good at what they do. That has to stop today. If you haven't been running the ball, don't all of a sudden be able to run the ball against Nebraska. If you haven't been able to get after the quarterback, don't all of a sudden get after the quarterback against Nebraska. That's the thing. And the crazy thing about it, the most formidable pass rush was the one they neutralized the most, and that was at Maryland.
Yeah. It's a great point you bring up because it's there's a little bit of why does this always happen to us? Every week, and that would be great to negate that today against.
Don't be the medicine.
And the other part of it too, bottom line, you got to get the ball in your playmakers' hands. I mean, at one point in the game against Minnesota, I held up on my dry erase board to you, Ja'Cory, 1 target, 1 yard, 1 catch.
That might have been where I was coming unraveled anyway. That might have been the complete fray.
Well, there was like 4.5 minutes left, and I'm just sitting there, and you and Kyle are like, well, Ben, what do you got? I'm like, nothing that I write on this board is going to be very good, so let's just leave the stats alone for the rest of the game.
It's incredible.
You guys are on your own. But yeah, I mean, obviously it'll be something that a lot of Husker fans have their eyes on moving forward. Rocco Spindler, by all accounts, going to try and play with.
Wouldn't that be something?
I mean,
Jess's response to we kind of kept it under wraps, but I don't know. And then to hear Coach Rule say, with Shavers, this is the part we forget about football players because they are tough guys. Whatever kind of breaks they are, guys get their hands casted. Shavers wanted to play. And he said, hey, it just hurt too much. And so when I hear a guy say that, and I kind of know their temperament and what it takes to play the sport, sometimes we forget it's a tough sport played by tough people.
Yeah, and we get to see them on the plane with ice bags and with, they look like they just were in car accidents on the plane. And yeah, it's a physical sport played by strong young men, and oftentimes that leads to, having to deal with situations like Rocco Spindler. And, man, I mean, newcomer to Husker sports, but I don't think, anybody's really going to forget what he gave to Nebraska this year and hopefully continues to give for the remainder of the 2025 season. So looking forward to see how the Huskers bounce back today on that O-line and how they can help keep 15 upright here today. Cornerstone Bank is committed to providing you game-changing solutions for your financial needs. Bank on a solid foundation. Cornerstone Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. We'll step aside for another break, and we'll get into today's opponent, Northwestern. That's coming up next.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
This is Big Red Football.
In Nebraska, the good life means mornings that wait for you, a porch swing or a skyline view, work that matters, and time that's yours. Neighbors who wave, hey there. Stars you can almost touch, a mortgage that makes sense, more space, more time, more life. Nebraska, the good life is calling. Are you ready to answer? Learn more about living in Nebraska at www.thegoodlifeiscalling.com.
It's not a job. I don't start my day by logging in or end my shift by punching out. I don't have a corner office, but I do have a seat with a view. I get to see every sunrise and every sunset. And while I may technically be my own boss, I fully accept that I am not in charge. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
Farming is hard work. Between managing crops, livestock, and equipment, there's not much time left to handle financing and loans. At Dakota Mac, we can help you do the heavy lifting when it comes to ag financing. Whether you're a full-time farmer, an investor, or a young and beginning farmer, we're here for you for all your ag lending needs. Let Dakota Mac help you work smarter, not harder.
Hi, it's Boyd Minray from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-463-4637. Learn how Dakota Mac products can work for you.
Set, hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
Preparation is the key to success on game day. And like your favorite Huskers on the field, you need to be ready right from the opening kickoff. Cenex has your pregame routine covered. We've got your salty snacks, your sweet treats, ice-cold beverages to wash them down, and fresh tanks of propane to fire up the grill. Fuel your fandom at your local Cenex station. Husker Pride, powered locally.
Tackle the toughest tasks on your farm with Brand Agricultural Products. They've got a complete lineup of grain handling and tillage equipment to take you from the preseason all the way to the playoffs or harvest. All their ag equipment is North American built and backed by an extensive network of dealerships that provide support over the long run. Lead the field with Brand Agricultural Products. Visit Brand.ca for more.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day show. At Dakota Mac, we can help you do the heavy lifting when it comes to ag financing. Whether you're a farmer, investor, or beginning farmer, we work hard to find lending solutions to fit your needs. Learn more at dakotamac.com. Ben McLaughlin, Damon Benning with you. Our show winding down, about 30 minutes left before we hand things over to Kyle Crooks for countdown to kickoff. Today's opponent, the Northwestern Wildcats, 5-2, David Braun has obviously done enough in the eyes of the administration to earn the job full time after that messy situation with Pat Fitzgerald. Picked bottom of the league this year, near bottom of the league. They're 1-2 in the middle of September, getting thumped by Tulane to start the year, and then obviously Oregon took it to them. But since then, winners of 4 straight, and I think much to the surprise of pretty much everybody in the league, maybe outside of Evanston, maybe even in Evanston, they've gotten it figured out, Damon, and I got to give them their flowers and tip your cap to what they were able to do. Started with that win over UCLA.
Well,
and then it continued with Penn State, and then, the Purdue matchup where they pitched the shutout last week.
So, you look at the job that he's had to do. He went from Coach of the Year to them being disappointed in his job performance last year, to him starting out on kind of the coaching hot seat this year, to 5-2 this season with the winning record so far in the conference. Sometimes we just need to exhale, right? Yeah. This is a pretty fantastic job. He's kind of done it his own way, too, and putting this team together and the staff. And you bring in a couple of extra eyeballs on the O-line, and he's kind of done it his way. And they're moving into the new digs, and everybody's excited about that. And it's, lo and behold, here's Northwestern. Now, you know what's funny about this team, though, B, is now they actually have some attention. And they're getting everybody's attention. And I think people think they're for real. They're usually best kind of laying in the cut, sneaking up on people. I don't think they're going to do that coming to Lincoln today. This will not be some sleepy Northwestern team where all of a sudden their quarterback, Thorson, goes for 100 yards in the first half, rushing the football in Memorial Stadium, right? They'll have Nebraska's full attention.
Patty Fisher isn't still on the team, is he?
No. How about the law firm, though? If it was Fisher, Gallagher, those guys were legit.
1,000, and they were there for 1,000 years.
Lowry had the coming out party against us. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah. But, from a Northwestern standpoint, Damon, you look at this game, and it's a big one.
Yeah.
With what's left on that schedule, if they're trying to go bowling, at SC, Michigan, Gophers, at Illinois to finish.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be favored in any of those games.
No. And I think, here's the thing. But don't you kind of just feel like you don't want to talk about the opponents anymore? You've watched this. We're around these guys a ton. Are you more convinced that this is about Nebraska more than anything?
Yeah, but just because we do the talk show, like we have to talk about
I'm literally processing out loud. It's like, I'll say this about USC. Yeah, but. Or Penn State. It's, yeah, but. I could tell you UCLA, right? The offensive efficiency has gone down the last 3 weeks in a row. They're trending in the wrong direction. The finishing drive rate, they're trending. So, we can get into all that, but it just seems like, can Nebraska just establish who they want to be going forward and then see what happens?
Yeah, when I'm watching them, all I'm thinking about is, okay, what does Nebraska do against this? What does Nebraska do against that? And I'm watching it through that lens, as opposed to, oh, this guy's really good, or this is a draft pick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My big worry when I preface this, I think in the first segment of the show, when I'm watching them and they line up in the pistol with a bunch set to the right, my whole thought is, trying to get our secondary off the line, trying to create space. That's what I'm thinking when I'm watching.
I apologize that you have my cranky, crabby, see it in the eyes of a coach guy. Now, it's like we spend too much time together.
Yeah, you're rubbing off on me for sure.
Yeah, well, don't. So, you know what's funny is it's a two-way street, because when I've never thought more about pitch sequence than after listening the broadcast all these years for baseball. I'm like, damn it, Snell, just stay with the fastball.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
And our wives are slowly going to start to hate us more and more as the suns begin to set. But what my point is, like,
wait till Kennedy and Zoe start hanging out.
That we should never let that happen.
Look, the state shouldn't let that happen.
The world isn't ready for that. Anyway, where was I talking about?
Northwestern and opponent preview.
Oh yeah, bunch sets.
Yards after contact. That's
yards
the key.
after contact, but their O-line is good enough, and the thing about Northwestern is H-backs, fullbacks taking on blockers. Like, that's going to be a little bit different than what they saw last week with Minnesota. They obviously went to a lot more I formation, as we found out, but it was almost like they preferred to run out of the gun. And I think Northwestern, to me, like, to what you said earlier, they're going to do what they're going to do. They don't care what's going on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think now we'll see if that's a benefit or not, right? Because we talked, it's not really funny unless you're getting wins, but would you rather be Iowa, where you know what they're going to do, you know they're going to play quarter hat, like they just line up and this is what they do, or do you want what we saw last week with Minnesota, where there are some nuances and the pre-snap looks and they broke tendency? There's multiple ways to skin the cat. This is line it up. This is how it's going to be with Northwestern. I don't think it'll be very fancy. I think you need to force Stone to throw the football. He's been a little inaccurate, and I'll give the two sneaky keys. Number one, it's the leaky yardage. When you touch a back or you get a wide receiver, do you allow them to fall forward? Is it 2nd and 8 or is it 2nd and 6? Big difference there, leaky yardage. The other thing is, Stone's going to give you about 3 or 4 interception-worthy balls. Catch them and go the other way, because he's going to give you a few. He's going to give you a few cracks at it.
It's been a while since Nebraska's taken the ball away.
Yeah, it has.
You know, you asked me on your show yesterday something tangible that I want to see. My first gut instinct was get guys to the ground. The other thing, I want to see Nebraska take the ball away.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Not hoping for a turnover, but go get a takeaway.
Yeah, go do it.
Yeah.
Go take it away. 17, a receiver for them, I think is a good player. I mean, I think he is a good player. He is a good player.
They
don't take a lot of shots, but if they do, that's who they're targeting. They don't want to chuck the ball down the field a lot, but they will take a shot. Most of it's off play action. Yeah. So, you take the running game away, or at least limit it. It's going to take away kind of what they want to do. But the other thing that leads to me to bring up that, Northwestern is watching a lot of the success that teams are having against Nebraska, drags, shallow crosses, as you say, beating guys to the inside.
Good
that's
call.
Got to stop.
Good call. We saw Maryland do it. We've seen Minnesota do it. And Nebraska will have to, again, even if you don't see it in their repertoire on film, you have to know that this is where you've been vulnerable. So I'm sure they'll make sure that they get out of that. And then if nothing else, you can just read. I talked about it in the first segment. Coach Harbaugh's comments, Greg, that is, at Minnesota, why they ran so much I formation against Nebraska. He said it instilled a physical mindset, and we played that way when we ran those plays. Hearing another opponent say that about his team relative to what they felt like was best for them, and it happened to work against you, it's twofold for Nebraska. Number one, you can adopt a similar mindset from an offensive standpoint. But number two, your defense, there'll be no secrets this week. They're going to line it up and they're going to run it at you. That's who Northwestern is.
Yeah, and it's who they've always been. It's who they'll continue to be. Game preparation and repetition predict success in winning. Drivers and vehicle passengers who always use their seatbelts will increase their survival chances if a crash should happen. Remember to always make it click from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Inching closer to kickoff. Let's check the traffic again. Here's Trooper Brett.
Good morning, Nebraska fans. As we get closer to kickoff, traffic is picking up on the main routes into Lincoln. No major concerns at the moment. Expect congestion near the construction zones. However, in Omaha, that'll be from mile marker 448 to 434 on Interstate 80. Also anticipate slowdowns on I-80 between Lincoln and Pleasantdale. For those of you coming in from the west, also remember to take Highway 77 southbound to Rosa Parks Way. A good game plan always has room for adjustments, so if alcohol becomes part of your game day experience, make the adjustment and have a sober driver lined up. I'm Trooper Brett with the Nebraska State Patrol on the Huskers Radio Network. This safety message is sponsored by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
You're listening to Husker Gameday, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Farming is hard work. Between managing crops, livestock, and equipment, there's not much time left to handle financing and loans. At Dakota Mac, we can help you do the heavy lifting when it comes to ag financing. Whether you're a full-time farmer, an investor, or a young and beginning farmer, we're here for you for all your ag lending needs. Let Dakota Mac help you work smarter, not harder.
Hi, it's Boyd Minray from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-463-4637 to learn how Dakota Mac products can work for you.
This is Husker Gameday, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Everywhere you look, Nebraska soybeans are making life better in ways you probably wouldn't expect. They're in your car tires, the paint on your walls, and even the firefighting foam that helps keep our communities safe. From motor oil to shoes to asphalt, Nebraska soybeans are driving innovation, replacing petroleum with cleaner, smarter, sustainable solutions. Nebraska soybeans, hard at work all around us. Brought to you by Nebraska soybean farmers and the Soy Checkoff.
Here, fall means two things, harvest and football. Just like Nebraska, you run on something powerful. Diesel for your farm, gas in your tank, or propane heating your home. Sap Bros keeps your farm and family fueled. We're kicking off with a Big Red giveaway. Enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits when you contract fuel with Sap Bros. And when Nebraska wins, you win. Score a free king-size Reese's in the Sap app, whether you're hauling harvest or headed to the game. Sap Bros fuels Nebraska.
The work is dirty and sometimes dangerous. It's the kind that can break your body, and if you let it, your spirit. But while there may be better ways to make a living, you won't convince me there's a better way to live. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
Set, hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles, or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Tackle the toughest tasks on your farm with Brand Agricultural Products. They've got a complete lineup of grain handling and tillage equipment to take you from the preseason all the way to the playoffs or harvest. All their ag equipment is North American built and backed by an extensive network of dealerships that provide support over the long run. Lead the field with Brand Agricultural Products. Visit Brand.ca for more.
You're listening to Husker Gameday, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome to Tunnel Walk Through Time, a segment where we reflect on Husker football games of the past. I'm Camden Cohn. Today, we travel back to December 30th in the year 2000. Almost 25 years ago, the 9-2 and 9th-ranked Huskers took on the 8-3 and 18th-ranked Northwestern Wildcats in the Alamo Bowl. Nebraska received the ball first, and junior quarterback Eric Crouch led the Husker offense down the field. Before you knew it, running back Dan Alexander found himself searching for the end zone.
Here's a pitch to Dan Alexander, sweeping right. He's to the 10, he's to the 5, and score!
The Huskers stormed out of the gates to a 7-0 lead with 12:49 to go in the first quarter. So the Wildcats got the ball for the first time, but had to settle for a 44-yard field goal from Tim Long. That made it 7-3 Nebraska with 9:51 left in the first. That would be the score at the end of the first quarter as both teams settled in. However, Northwestern scored less than a minute into the second quarter on a 10-yard touchdown pass to Teddy Johnson from Zach Kustok. The Wildcats grabbed a 10-7 edge with 14:16 left in the second quarter, but the lead didn't last very long.
The option right side by Eric Crouch. He's going to keep it. He's to the 50. Eric to the 45, to the 40, 35, 30, 25, 15, 10, 5. He's gone. Touchdown. 51 yards. Well, that's a way to get back into the game. 50 yards, one play. Eric Crouch, that says it all.
Crouch's electric run made it 14-10 Big Red with 13:56 before the half. And Nebraska was far from done for the quarter. 2 minutes later, they wound up in the end zone again.
First down and goal to go at the 2-yard line of Northwestern. The Huskers are knocking on the door. The handoff to Alexander. In he goes! Touchdown!
Man, do they make it look easy when they're on track.
That increased the lead to 21-10 with 11:50 left in the quarter. After another stop by the Blackshirts, the Huskers scored again thanks to a 2-yard Correll Buckhalter touchdown run. Josh Brown added a 51-yard field goal with just under 2 minutes left in the second as they led 31-10. Northwestern was able to respond with a 69-yard touchdown run on their first play of the ensuing drive to make it 31-17 with 1:10 before the break. But the Wildcats could not keep the momentum.
Bobby Newcomb and Wilson Thomas are split to the right. They go to the shotgun. Back goes Crouch. Sets a jailbreak screen to Bobby Newcomb. Gets loose. 45. Newcomb to the 40. He's to the 30. He's to the 20. Newcomb to the 10. He's to the 5. And he'll go in for the touchdown.
They caught him in the blitz.
What a throw and catch for Nebraska as they scored 31 points in the second quarter and held a 38-17 lead at the half. The 31 points in a quarter tied an NCAA record for a bowl game. The Huskers got the ball out of the locker room and didn't miss a beat. Crouch looked for his second touchdown pass of the night.
Man in motion to the left side is Matt Davison. Crouch fakes a handoff to Alexander. Looks, fires a pass into the end zone, and a catch is good by Davison for the touchdown. Now that's a good way to start the third quarter.
45-17 Big Red with 12:17 left in the third quarter. In a shocking turn of events, both teams were held off the board for the next handful of possessions. But Eric Crouch and the offense put together a drive that took them down to the 2-yard line. Crouch scampered into the end zone from there to make it a 52-17 Husker lead with 3:52 remaining in the third. After the Blackshirts quickly turned the Wildcats away, the Big Red used some trickeration for good measure.
Huskers at the 31-yard line, their own. First down and 10. Here's a swing pass out on the right flat to Bobby Newcomb. Wants to throw it. Davison is behind everybody. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. 10, 5, touchdown. And 69-yard touchdown strike. And that just might help shut the door.
Nebraska's offense could not be stopped. 59-17 with just over a minute left in the third. Both teams slowed the frantic pace down in the fourth quarter, but Darren Diedrich got in on the fun with a 9-yard touchdown run with just over 5 minutes to go. 66-17 would be the final score as the Big Red set an NCAA bowl record with 66 points and 9 offensive touchdowns. Nebraska rushed for 476 yards as Dan Alexander rushed for 240 himself. Crouch finished with 2 touchdowns on the ground and 1 through the air. The Huskers finished the season with a 10-2 record. This has been Tunnel Walk Through Time. Next week, we'll travel back to 1975 for a matchup with Missouri. Reporting for the Huskers Radio Network, I'm Camden Cohn.
Welcome back to Husker Game Day. Kyle Crooks back on the Husker Radio Network, and we're here with Tim Kohanek, co-founder of Stonebridge Wealth Systems, and today's broadcast sponsor against the Northwestern Wildcats. Tim, a lot of fans recognize Stonebridge as a trusted name in retirement planning here in Nebraska. What makes Stonebridge stand out from other firms?
I appreciate the question, Kyle, and I'd like to think, if you polled our clients, I think that the two main words that they would use, I hope, would be first, trust. Somebody that they know is in their corner that they can rely on. And then after that would be expertise. We want to make sure that we're bringing the most up-to-date, cutting-edge solutions to our clients' retirement plans. And, our hypothesis when we formed Stonebridge, it was originally called Stonebridge Insurance and Wealth Management, transformed into Stonebridge Wealth Systems here a few years ago, was that financial planning was kind of broken in the sense that it had kind of devolved into just financial product sales. And it was about selling mutual funds or selling annuities or selling some other sort of product versus actually solving problems and answering questions for folks that, a lot of them had been wondering, can I afford to retire? Will my money last as long as I need it to? And we've really shifted and implemented a strategy where we have a true system. We're not winging it. If you think about it, Coach Rule would never bring the team out on the field and say, guys, we're just kind of going to shoot from the hip on this one. There's a specific game plan, a system in place to make sure that the right pieces are out there on the field at all times. We try to do the same thing when we're implementing financial plans for our clients.
Well, today is Military and Veterans Appreciation Day here at Memorial Stadium. I know service and discipline are values that matter to you. How does that translate into your work?
I think first we have to acknowledge that we all are in debt or owe a debt of gratitude to those who have served and are serving. Certainly that's personal to my family. My dad spent 4 years in the U.S. Navy. I've got an uncle who served in Vietnam. I've got a cousin who earned a Bronze Star with a V device for service in Iraq, and he was actually severely wounded. And so it's important. It's personal to me. And so the words that come to mind for me is honor, duty, loyalty, and integrity. And when it comes to financial planning, we operate as in the capacity of a fiduciary, which means we have a moral, legal, ethical obligation to put our clients' interests ahead of our own. And that means we have a duty of loyalty to them and making sure that whatever I recommend is better for them than it is for me. And we have a duty of care to make sure that it is that most effective, proper, and applicable strategy to truly serve their purposes to better accomplish their goals.
Nebraska's economy is rooted in agriculture. Many farmers and ranchers are looking toward retirement while also thinking about passing the family operation to that next generation. How does Stonebridge Wealth Systems help farm families make that transition smoothly?
Great question. It's a big part of our practice. It's also personal to me, again, because my mother grew up on a farm. My grandpa farmed until he was well into his 80s, until he couldn't get into a tractor anymore. And I think it resonates. I know it resonates with a lot of the folks listening out there that, there's never really a true retirement for many farmers. And so it's not something that just happens on its own, this transition. And we're in this phase right now. A lot of folks maybe have heard of this great wealth transfer that's happening and will be happening over the next few decades, where it's something like $80 trillion will be transitioning in wealth in this country from one generation to the next. So how are you prepared to make sure that you do that in an efficient manner so you keep more of the things that you've worked so hard to build, whether it's a farm or business or just your nest egg, in the possession of the not only yourself that you can use for your purposes, but the people, places, organizations, and entities you love and care about, versus unnecessary fees, taxes, surcharges, and that sort of thing. So we focus on that. We make sure that at the end of the day, our objective when it comes to an estate plan is keeping families together. It's not about the dirt. It's about the people that you're going to leave behind.
And for fans listening today who might be thinking about their own financial future, what's your best advice and how they can reach you?
At the end of the day, get started now. You have two choices. There's two types of people, I should say. Those that hear a message like this and think, I should really do something someday, and those that take action to change their circumstances to better serve their purposes. I invite folks to go to our website, stonebridgeiwm.com, or a landing page where they can get an idea of what their total tax burden in retirement will be, and that's stonebridgetaxbill.com.
Well, thank you, Tim, for taking the time and the work you do, your support of the Huskers. We really appreciate you chatting with us.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's Tim Kulhanek, the co-founder of Stonebridge Wealth Systems. We'll have more Husker Game Day right after this.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Set, hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Farming is hard work. Between managing crops, livestock, and equipment, there's not much time left to handle financing and loans. At Dakota Mac, we can help you do the heavy lifting when it comes to ag financing. Whether you're a full-time farmer, an investor, or a young and beginning farmer, we're here for you for all your ag lending needs. Let Dakota Mac help you work smarter, not harder.
Hi, it's Boyd Minray from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-463-4637. Learn how Dakota Mac products can work for you.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Here, fall means two things: harvest and football. Just like Nebraska, you run on something powerful. Diesel for your farm, gas in your tank, or propane heating your home. Sap Bros keeps your farm and family fueled. We're kicking off with a Big Red giveaway. Enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits when you contract fuel with Sap Bros. And when Nebraska wins, you win. Score a free king-size Reese's in the Sap app, whether you're hauling harvest or headed to the game. Sap Bros fuels Nebraska.
It's not a job. I don't start my day by logging in or end my shift by punching out. I don't have a corner office, but I do have a seat with a view. I get to see every sunrise and every sunset. And while I may technically be my own boss, I fully accept that I am not in charge. I'm a Nebraska corn farmer, and there's nothing else I would rather be.
Brought to you by the Nebraska Corn Board.
Preparation is the key to success on game day. And like your favorite Huskers on the field, you need to be ready right from the opening kickoff. Cenex has your pregame routine covered. We've got your salty snacks, your sweet treats, ice-cold beverages to wash them down, and fresh tanks of propane to fire up the grill. Fuel your fandom at your local Cenex station. Husker Pride, powered locally.
Tackle the toughest tasks on your farm with Brand Agricultural Products. They've got a complete lineup of grain handling and tillage equipment to take you from the preseason all the way to the playoffs or harvest. All their ag equipment is North American built and backed by an extensive network of dealerships that provide support over the long run. Lead the field with Brand Agricultural Products. Visit Brand.ca for more.
You're listening to Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac on the Huskers Radio Network.
Back one final time here on the Dakota Mac Husker Game Day Show. Ben McLaughlin, Damon Benning with you. Wrapping it up here, DB. Let's get into our Brant ground game report. Brought to you by Brant Industries. Make sure your ground game is up to speed with Brant high-speed disc for a better field finish and fewer passes. I think something like 85 to 90% of Nebraska's runs last week were on first down. What are you expecting to see today from EJ?
Yeah, I think they've got to kind of stick with that. He needs anywhere from 18 to 25 touches, whether that's carries and pass-catching targets. However you get there, he's got to get into the low 20s, I think, to be operating at a high level. I don't think you're going to get a ton of snaps. You know, this may be a 60 to 65 snap game for you offensively, depending on what you're doing on your third down stop rate and your third down conversion rate. But if that's the case, then those snaps need to be in the low 20s for him. And where you get them, I'm not sure. I'd like to see a few more first down runs, but here's the thing I think they've got to really accomplish. Run the ball when you have to, not when you want to. That's going to be the key.
And I think the ground game report for me even slides to the other side, too. If Nebraska's successful stopping Northwestern's running game early, first quarter and a half, try to make them do something they're uncomfortable doing. And they haven't been able to do that yet.
Yeah, you mentioned it already. They don't really want to try to throw the ball over your head. It comes off a run action, and it's that intermediate passing game. And as long as Nebraska doesn't allow them to get comfortable with 2nd and 1s where you can take some shot plays, Nebraska should be fine there. But I'm with you. And you got to get multiple helmets to the ball. 2, 3, 4, 5 helmets to the ball carrier, I think will serve Nebraska well. It's punishing and it limits yards after contact.
What else do you want to see from Nebraska today to help get this done?
Yeah, so I'd like a momentum-changing play in special teams where you can get this crowd going early. It's the first unit that takes the field of every game, so you always have a chance to make something happen. I'd like to see that. And then the other thing is see if we can establish the ground game, not only controlling it, but being real good with it.
I think that'll make Dylan a lot better and certainly open up some plays for the wideouts that you are just craving to get touches. I mean, even after last week, wanting to see 6, 13, specifically 2, get these guys involved in the offense and open some things up. I wouldn't be shocked to see Ja'Cory Barney get a few touches in the first quarter, designed touches in the first quarter as well after not seeing
whether it's jet sweeps, hand passes. You got to figure out a way to get the deuce loose.
Yes, figure out some type of way to get him the football early after a rocky performance all the way around offensively last week against Minnesota. That's going to wrap us up here for this one. Thanks to everybody that was a part of it. As always, thanks to Jessica Cootie for our Cornhusker conversation, Nebraska kicker Kyle Cunan. Thanks to Josh Hilkeman, Cam McCone, Russ Brown, keeping us in line here for the first 2 hours of our pregame show. Coming up next, countdown to kickoff. Kyle Crooks will take you through the next hour and preview today's matchup with the Northwestern Wildcats. Just about 2 hours from kick. Huskers trying to respawn from a tough Friday night loss against Minnesota, get themselves bowl eligible. Northwestern's trying to do the same as well. We'll talk to you after the game for the 5th quarter show and the Huskers and Wildcats. But now, countdown to kickoff. Kyle Crooks will take you through as our pregame show rolls along.
This is Husker Game Day, brought to you by Dakota Mac. You're listening to Big Red Football.
Farming is hard work. Between managing crops, livestock, and equipment, there's not much time left to handle financing and loans. At Dakota Mac, we can help you do the heavy lifting when it comes to ag financing. Whether you're a full-time farmer, an investor, or a young and beginning farmer, we're here for you for all your ag lending needs. Let Dakota Mac help you work smarter, not harder.
Hi, it's Boyd Minnery from Dakota Mac. Call me at 402-463-4637. Learn how Dakota Mac products can work for you.
Set. Hike. When champions take the field, they come ready to play. TNL Irrigation understands the value of momentum. Like a Husker drive, there's no stopping. If you live for farming and football like we do, TNL Irrigation has you covered. Check your fields from the game with a remote system, or just enjoy the play knowing our systems are reliable as a sold-out Memorial Stadium. Touchdown! Nebraska born, Nebraska strong. Husker Nation and TNL Irrigation are like no other.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Here, fall means 2 things: harvest and football. Just like Nebraska, you run on